Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Transform Sales Software Review Podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking to Brian Minnick, COO at ZeroBounce, about how sales teams can use ZeroBounce to increase the number of sales qualified leads they generate through cold email prospecting. Now, if you're not familiar with ZeroBounce is an email validation and list cleaning software that helps ensure accurate email lists, which is critical for effective sales prospecting through email. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Tony. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here today.
Thank you for joining us today. Let's go ahead and, you know what? I forgot to put up my label. Guys, here's the label. ZeroBounce for cold email prospecting. Let's go ahead and hop right into the first question. When it comes to cold email prospecting, what alternatives are your customers most often using before they switch over to ZeroBounce?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's kind of two components here, which is a lot of people don't use any software prior to doing cold emailing, and they're just grabbing data from giant companies like ZoomInfo or wherever they're grabbing kind of lead lists from. But for the people who are, and if you're not, by the way, validating emails that you're getting from these third-party providers, you have to. A lot of it is not great data. It needs to get cleaned up. But I would probably say the biggest alternative is NeverBounce, which is a company owned by ZoomInfo. And so what they're kind of seeing there and what most people are kind of coming to us on is the higher quality of accuracy that they're getting. So we're very big on the accuracy and scrubbing down the data really far to make sure, especially for anything cold emailing, that you're sending to people that aren't going to mark you as spam or, are known to kind of cause some issues for you on your deliverability side.
That's interesting. So NeverBounce, as one of those big names out there, big logos that have a lot of customers that may switch over to ZeroBounce. When you think about the nature of the software, it's already supposed to be helping clean up, avoid high bounce rates, clean up the data and make sure we're sending it to the right deliverability rates. So what is it that would be that difference when you all go deeper into scrubbing? What specifically are the things that you guys are doing that would be different?
Yeah, so we're set up a little bit differently. It's very hard to validate all of the data in the world. That's the truth. And that's our mission, by the way, is to validate all of the data in the world. So across every continent, every country, all the different domains, all the different email providers. This is actually incredibly hard. It requires a lot of people, requires a lot of infrastructure to do that. And so we're definitely set up that way. But I think in general, probably the biggest issue that I'm seeing is those ones that are using, any of our competitors. If they're coming from a company that's providing the data and that same one is cleaning it, you have to kind of ask yourself, why are they doing that? That's number one. And number two, how bad do they want to make their own company look? So if you're buying a bunch of data and then the same sister company cleans up half of it, and then you have half of it left, you kind of start to argue why you're paying for that. And so we kind of look at it from a very different approach. We take a very big step back. We're looking at it from people that are, again, known to mark you as spam, which is the ultimate killer, by the way, for any cold prospecting. Getting marked as spam and hard bounces are the two number one reasons why you are no longer in the inbox and you're in the spam folder. And so just our wide range of coverage against all of the different domains and mail providers, this is really a key differentiator between us. And probably one of the other big ones is that we get to results on the largest sets of data that can possibly happen. So we benchmark all of our competitors, and there's a industry standard here called an unknown rate. And that unknown rate means that they cannot get to an answer. And we all have this, by the way. Every one of the companies in our space has this unknown rate. Industry standards between 20 to 40% unknown rates. So for every 2 to 4 emails out of 10 on your list, you're not going to get an answer for. And we have been and always have been since 2018 under 1% unknown rates. So for every 100, only one we might not get an answer to. And that's generally due to some sort of networking issue downstream. And there's a reason we can't get to it. And probably we would be able to get to it later. It's a very big differentiator. Why, what good is it if 20 to 40% of your data you don't get an answer for? That's not validation to me. That's, partial validation.
Right. Got it. So unknown rates would be one of those metrics. I'm trying to think. It's a great point around the deal of when you've got a tool that provides you with the contact data and then also tries to clean it up, that there could be some inconsistencies there. And it could be as simple as the old saying, jack of all trades, master of none, if it's so difficult to get to. But if I'm a user, is there some way that I would be able to know the unknown rates that are generated by my email validation tool?
Yeah, it would be right in the, it should be a good tool or a transparent tool, I should actually say, would serve that rate right up to you because they didn't get an answer. So they should tell you who they didn't get an answer for. They shouldn't really bury that. So it should be something that's kind of right there in your face. And one of the other kind of components, which again is a big key differentiator, is we do spam trap detection, which if you're doing cold emailing, and we're one of the few people that do spam trap detection and are very good at it. If you're doing cold emailing and you're not checking for spam traps and you're not checking for people that are known to mark you as spam and getting answers on all of the emails that you're submitting for validation, you're really kind of missing out on, it only takes, by the way, 2% bounce rates and 0.1% abuse rates, meaning 0.1% of your campaign marked you as spam and your whole campaign's in the spam folder. That's not a big number. These are not, let's just be honest, that's easy to achieve.
Proceed to
exceed, right? And so when I say, we can get 20 to 40% more answers, we can detect these people, we can remove the spam traps. These are drastically changing the outcomes of your campaigns. And so we focus on taking quantity, which is what the giant providers are putting out there, because quantity, they're selling you in quantity, right? ZoomInfo and all these companies, there's no quantity. We take that and scrub it way down into quality. And that's going to be always the differentiator on cold emailing and prospecting, is the quality of that list versus the quantity. And sometimes that actually takes, you got to kind of swallow the pill on that one and make sure you actually understand that, because salespeople in general always tend to think quantity, because I will find the quality and reverse it, come with quality and then convert. That's kind of how I think about this.
There we go. So let's demo some of these features that help overcome some of those challenges.
Absolutely. So once you create an account with ZeroBounce, and anyone can create an account with ZeroBounce, just go to our website, create a new account. You'll get 100 free validations per month and access to some of our tools. But once you're in the account, you'll get presented with a dashboard and you can go to validate. And in the validation section, we would produce some lists. These are ones that I've already pre-uploaded, so you guys can get an idea of how the results look. If I expand these results, you will see these unknown rates, which I said is important, and you should be seeing these on your data sets. But anyway, you would upload any of these lists that you're getting. They can be from CSV text files, they can be Excel files, all the way down into different types of integrations. So if you're putting this data into your HubSpot, into your Salesforce account, your Klaviyo, MailChimp, any of these kind of different campaigns, we use Outreach, we're directly connected with, and there's tons of other kind of apps and add-ons, Google Drive, etc. You'd upload that list and we're going to validate the data. And that's what some of this results would start to look like. And so when the output comes out, basically you're going to be left with a list of how many are kind of percent valid. And that's what you're going to want to bring into your platform. And that's now your cold email list. So if you had 95 emails on that list or you had 500, it doesn't matter. You're only going to want to be bringing in these valid emails. You're certainly not going to want to bring in valids. Those are hard bounces. If we're catching spam traps and known complainers, ZeroBounce internally, we do not do cold emailing. So I'm not going to have a lot of this list data that's going to look really, really bad. But if you did, you would notice it all here. And one of the other kind of components, especially for cold emailing, once you go to download that list, we're going to give you a bunch of data appends that you can get access to. So first name, last name, and some other items. But what's really going to be key here is this activity data. And currently we're doing a free data append on this through the end of November. But what this basically is saying is we're going to also tell you if we've seen any email activity on this account in less than 30 days, 60, 90, 180 days, or if it's been greater than 1 year. And what this basically tells you is if you can get valid emails that have activity data in 90 days or less, this is your golden nugget coming out of the data set that you have. So valid emails, and we have known activity signals on them within 90 days. This is your golden list. This is where you start.
So let me ask you a question there. So then when we talk about the valid emails, maybe we're talking about when you go ahead and you buy a list or get some information from somewhere, and you're wanting to make sure not only is that valid, that it's not some other dummy email that was created by the company. Like if there's a company that is doing cold email outreach, maybe they've got some email boxes set up that they use for cold emailing, but they don't go into. Even that situation be where this comes into play.
Yep. There's things there where you might see like do not mail. So we might classify those as kind of a do not mail. It's a forwarding account, or it's maybe a group email. Those are also types of email addresses you would not want to be mailing. So we're going to throw all of those into do not mail. That would be, again, like the info at, the sales at.
Yeah.
And I want to explain just for one second why that's important not to mail those people, is because if that's a group and that group goes to 20 people, or whatever the number is, right? Big companies might be 20, small might be 3. But if you sent one email and then you got 20 spam complaints on that, that is the ultimate. Again, it's just chopping away at your ability to perform in cold sales and cold email marketing. And that's sending a bunch of really bad signals back to you as a sender. And that's what's going to put you in the spam folder. So you really, really have to pay attention to make sure you're not emailing these groups. You're not emailing these forwarding accounts, because obviously those people are not signing up for what you're trying to send. And they're very likely to mark you as spam. You do not want people marking you as spam. That is, again, if it gets delivered, meaning it didn't hard bounce, that's the second worst thing that can happen, is that they then go and mark you as spam. You definitely would rather them opt out, or you don't want to mail them in the first place, is really the truth.
So let me do a quick recap right here then. So we hit the unknown rate, which clearly we can see that unknown rate in the platform here. So we could say any of the addresses that come up as unknown, we don't want to include in our data set. Spam trap is getting down to the people who are highly likely to add you to spam if they don't know you, because there's some people that will receive your email and not add you to spam, others that will. And maybe sometimes even the email platforms. The idea would be is that if you send an email to this email address, it's highly likely that it'll put you in spam. And then the third one is the challenge, right, would be forwarding email address actually used by the person, going to the contact that you want to reach. And that's the other thing that could put you in spam. So those 3 challenges you could be experiencing right now that is increasing the number of emails that you're sending out, cold emails you're sending out that go into the spam box or the spam folder. And like Brian said, now we're talking about 0.1% is enough to mess up the rest of your campaign. Are we saying?
Yeah. 0.1%. And that's it. By the way, that's not my guideline. That's Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft's guideline. Which is probably 70% of all email across the entire ecosystem of mail at this point.
Wow. All right. Super clear. Well, those are the features. I guess we got to the features, and you said that's called activity pending. You all are offering free activity pending through November, you said?
Yeah. So as you can see, the activity data. So this is not you as a user. You've never sent to them. We have already data on them, and we're matching it. So you can see here, matching about 50%. I don't know, I can't do the rough math that quickly in my head, but it's just about 50%. For 521, we have 257 that has activity data on it. And so whether you have a file or, again, you want to come in here and put different stuff, some other things that we're detecting, which if people are getting, these different types of email addresses in here, things you can see here, I don't know. I'm sure Steph Curry has a Gmail account, right? And if I come in here and say Steph Curry, which again, very common, typos on mobile, any of that type of stuff, if that data is coming in here, you can see somebody has a Steph Curry at Gmail account. And if I typo this and actually click into it, we actually detected that this was a typo, and we suggested the typo fix. So more kind of, really important type of information. This is all included on the file uploads, but a lot of people also are coming in here, especially sales rep, are kind of living in this page. They're pasting the data real quick. Boom. Is it an email? That's good. They can click it and put it right into their mail system and send a piece of mail out. So that's definitely another one And there is one more, Tony. It's a totally different kind of feature. And if it's okay, I would love to just talk about it because it's incredibly important for salespeople.
Let's do it.
Cool. So, and it's nothing we've touched on. It's not validation. What it is email warm up. So we also have a bunch of other tools. You can see some of them here. All of them are important. Inbox placement testing. This is, you can send to our accounts. We'll tell you if you're in the inbox or spam folder, which is really important. But the one I want to talk about here is email warm up. And what this is doing is this gives you the ability to warm up, repair, restore, or build sending reputation on an email account that you're trying to send mail from. This is incredibly important for anybody doing cold emailing or sales emails. I just have a bunch of random accounts in here, and you can see that basically what I do is I hook my account up, and what's happening behind the scenes is we are sending from your email account, we are sending a bunch of emails, and we're engaging with them. We're opening them, we're clicking them, we're marking them as not spam, and we're taking a lot of measures to get them out of the spam folder. So you can see I actually intentionally got myself into a spam situation where my emails were landing in the spam folder. And because we kept sending and moving that email out, you can see I've maintained. Now, I don't do cold sales, but my gosh, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had about this. And I'm talking thousands, almost 400,000 people on our platform, and over 60% of those are salespeople. And so we know what's going on. We know what everyone's talking about. Email warm-up is super imperative to make sure that you're doing different things to make sure that your email account is being set up properly. And I want to give you guys all an idea of what that actually means. So email warm-up should go hand in hand with your cold emailing. You need to be using an email address that has positive reputation signals out in the email space. So when we're building that for you, we're helping you create that. Or if you've gotten yourself into problems, aka repair mode, we will kind of help make sure that we try to get you out of the spam folder and get you back into the inbox by, again, engaging with your emails. So you're sending emails to us, and this is fully automated, by the way. This is not something you have to manage. You just add your email in here, and we start doing all the work for you. And this is really important for cold sales and cold prospecting. If your email's in the spam folder, guys, you're wasting your time. And basically that's what this is all about. So make sure you have clean data and make sure you have great reputation when you go to send. And that's really what I wanted to touch on.
Wow. So you can get your email address out of the spam folder, like credit repair. You can come back from that. Okay.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question then right here on this topic. I don't know if anyone else listening is thinking about it, but, GMass, right? It seems like, Google bought GMass. I don't know. GMass now offered in my regular Google. Mm-hmm. And, because of the convenience of it, there may be some out there that are like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I don't have an email me tool. Look, I got GMass right here. Why don't I go with that? What are some of the watch outs so far that you see there?
So GMass is it's the ability to automate the outbound email marketing, right? The outbound sales marketing. I think it's great. I mean, I definitely think there's been tools that have always laid on top of Gmail. So to me, it makes sense. And I see it as no different other than just Google's kind of approving it, right? It's definitely good. I would highly recommend it in a sense of if you're going to use it, use tools like that. I hate the HTML emails for cold sales. You're never going to get anywhere with those. But this should still go along with it. This does not supplement or replace it. This runs in parallel with it to make sure that while you're sending through GMass or any of those other providers, it really kind of, in my opinion, it's all the same. They're just sending from your Gmail account. We're also sending from your Gmail account, but we're sending to recipients that ZeroBounce manages. So we're managing all the interaction that's taking place with it. So really, these need to run in parallel. And if you're not using email warm-up, you're missing out here on a component. Because, by the way, guys, if you're not aware, and most people aren't, this is not your fault. You're not email marketers, you're salespeople, you're closers, or your appointment setting, whatever it is. But you have a different reputation on every single mail provider out there. So Gmail sees you differently than Yahoo, and they see you differently than Microsoft. And you might have damaged it in one spot, and you might be fine in the other. Most people are not aware that it's actually very intricate, and the details the devil's in the details of this, to be very honest. Unless you're sending emails to all these different providers, you wouldn't even know what I'm talking about, because what your thought process is, this is a binary response. I'm in the inbox or I'm in the spam folder. And the answer is, it depends. If someone actually asks you that, where are you in the inbox and might you be in the spam folder? So just be aware of all this stuff. There's a lot of kind of hidden components to this. And when you really get into the details, you want every edge you can have. And so understanding your list, understanding where you have problems, repairing those problems or protecting from those problems, super, super valuable in sales.
Awesome. Well, that was very helpful. Let's get to that next part. Now, we saw the features where, and people are like, hey, this might work for me. The next question is, what's required to get set up and how long will it take to get the full productivity?
It's an amazing question, and I'm glad you asked. So we have people, if you're in the sales world and you're just dealing with spreadsheets or you're downloading CSVs, you take that exact same download, you bring it into our platform, you upload it, and we're going to serve you back the results. We're going to give you a new spreadsheet to basically work from. So that is all same day type implementation. If that's the type of person you are working with your sales leads, then it's really same day. And for more context, if you needed to go through about 10,000 leads and clean them up, that might be high for you, that might be low. Just to give you a benchmark, that's going to take us about 15 minutes to clean that data up and give it back to you. So we're not going to impede on your workflow. We're not going to slow you down. You interject us before you go and put them into your mailing system. And if you're one of those more technical people, you want automation on your website, for example, we can catch typos on any forms and things of that nature. We have a full SDK and our tech team can help you, but this is generally a same day implementation, no matter what you're doing. And on the email warm-up side, I mean, we're talking about 2 minutes, username, password of your email account, and you're running. So all of this is really same day, no setup. You don't have to be technical. As long as you know how to upload a spreadsheet, that's really all that's required.
Let me ask you another question then here related to the warm-up. If I upload a few different email addresses, is it a correct assumption that when I upload those, I can kind of see a score so that I could also know which ones might need some repair or things like that before I get it going in a campaign?
Yes, for sure. So we will give you an inbox score when we start. And then each day as we're continuing to send, and we're going to ramp up and vary how much we're sending by design. So yes, as we start to ramp up, we'll be highlighting your inbox score, and then we'll be highlighting the improvements that we're trying to make and see, ultimately the results will be there. If you're sending and you're now moved out of spam into the inbox, we've done the job that you're looking to accomplish there. So yeah, it's definitely all visible.
And so let's use a hypothetical example where I uploaded my email address. Everything else is ready to go. It just so happens that my sendability, my deliverability score is very low. And now I need to take advantage of some repair.
Mm-hmm.
On average, or is there a ballpark that we might use to say, if this is your scenario, it might take this long using the warm up and kind of repairing that for you to get all the way to the point that you need to be to get sending?
Yeah, it can take you, and the situations are going to vary. So, obviously there's some factors to that, but I would say I'm comfortable saying it's probably going to take you 30 to 60 days to repair that. And if that sounds like a lot to you, the truth is it is, but that's by design of the mail servers, because what did you do? Like, you need to get on a better track. You need to have better signals. What I see on most cases, and probably you've seen it as well, is people have multiple accounts that they're sending from. And so if you burn something up, you'd want to cool that off, move off of it, keep it in warm up, let the warm up do its job of repairing everything, probably move to some other domain. And hopefully you don't burn that one up too. But generally speaking, we'll see people with pools of emails that they're sending from, and they'll kind of back off once they start to notice issues. And you should be running a warm up on all of those accounts, by the way, keep them in a good place. But that's generally what it would take to repair, is kind of 30 to 90 days, depending upon how much mail you send.
So then last but not least, KPIs. What KPIs should your ideal customer use to evaluate their success with your software? And in the mix, why don't we just throw in there a little bit of the pricing situation, because we know once in a while that ROI question comes up as well.
Sure. So a lot of the KPIs are going to be kind of based on the metrics that we're going to share for you. So bounce rate is a KPI that you need to pay attention to when you're doing any kind of campaign. So again, anything higher than 2%, which again, that's not hard to do, especially if you're acquiring data, especially business data, by the way, because that data is churning like crazy. So the business emails and all those work emails, they're churning a lot. And we've done a huge study on that, by the way. And it's about a 26% churn in business data is what we're seeing in a calendar year. That's a lot if you think about it. That's changing jobs, companies shutting down, new ones spinning up, stuff's happening. That unknown rate is going to be definitely something to benchmark if you're already kind of using something, get an idea. And that's a KPI to me because, again, it's what's your unknown data. I wouldn't send to it, by the way, if it was unknown. If you're sending to unknown data, you're opening yourself up to a lot of risk. So remove that and get that down to a metric that makes a lot more sense. And then also the outcome of your performance of your campaign. That's really what this is. And so I've had lots of people. We just did a massive trade show where a ton of salespeople were coming up to us, talking to us, thanking us for their ability to perform better because we're giving them high quality data. We're trimming their low quality list into a high quality curated list that's targeted. Of course, we've trimmed it down. Yes, we did a good job, by the way, by removing over half of your list from some of these large companies. Don't get mad at me when we've done a good job trimming out all the garbage. And so I actually, in the beginning, did hear that a lot until you kind of educate. It's like, well, that's the point. That's actually what you're coming here to do, is to get rid of all the risk and get rid of all the bad emails there. So that's definitely an indicator to look for, is your performance of your sales campaigns. If those are increasing as a result of just the two things that's said, by the way, and there's lots more that you can do, but those two major ones, it's simple that anyone can do today. That's going to be the ROI is amazing right there if you just do it in that sense. On the pricing, because I know you kind of mentioned that and you're questioning about how much that stuff might cost. To clean up a list of 10,000 emails is going to cost you $80 one time to do that. And that is pennies. So we're talking about under a penny to do a validation on a record. And the email warm-up, that's $99 a month starting at. And you can hook up to 10 email accounts to that. And we're going to do up to 250 actions per day. So that's actually quite a bit for if you're just a one or two salesperson, shop. We have some other packages that would accommodate more and larger groups of salespeople. But starting, these are two things that cost you under a couple $100 to do and are really going to kind of elevate your ability to perform because of all the things that we've talked about. So the ROI, if you can get one sale, right? Most people get one extra sale out of this component that I've shared with you. It's paid for ZeroBounce for the year. And not to mention if you're storing that data, an example, HubSpot, if that's somewhere you're taking that data, you're paying a ton of money to store bad data there. Get it out, get the instant ROI right there just on not storing bad data. And if anything, you're going to get all the benefits that come along with it. So ROI is actually super simple for us and super simple for you to kind of take and figure out how you can pitch this. If you're having, if you got to request the budget, get a free sample. That's the best way to do it. Do a free sample and see the difference.
Yeah, and I noticed something that's unique about you all I have to call out, and that is that you all have a pay-per-use offering, kind of like you can pay for what you use instead of having to be on a 1-year subscription with something that you might find that you don't use so much. So that really gives a person control over your experience, and you guys are earning their business every month or every use case, right? So That's pretty interesting too for those of you all who want to kind of take the sting out of those annual contracts.
Something we're very proud of, by the way, we intentionally, this is by design. This is not by, oops, maybe we should have put everyone on contract. If you love the product, you will come back. And I'm confident in that. And I know that. And our customer base tells us this. So I don't need to lock you into a contract like all these other guys are doing. If you're unhappy, you would leave. And that's quite honestly, if you're unhappy, you should be able to leave any software you want if you don't like the results of it. And so that's how we are. We'll earn the business. We'll do a good job and you'll be proud and you'll want to come back.
Awesome. I'm going to ask you one more question before we close out. Well,
Sure.
this one more question category back on the KPIs, but I'm interested to get your numbers. The email open rates, I'm already saying email deliverability, you should be looking for a bounce rate lower than 2%. when it comes to open rates and then secondarily conversion rates on cold email, let's look at that as conversion to a discovery call or something like that.
Sure.
What are you guys seeing in the numbers? What do you recommend to use as a benchmark?
Wow, great question. Slightly challenging because we don't actually do that type of work. All of our traffic is inbound as a software. But what we have seen, and we've seen people do, we have some case studies on our website, and maybe that's a great place to check. But we have seen anywhere from, if you have single digit open rates, by the way, you have a massive problem. So don't get comfortable there. Let's start there. Don't get comfortable saying, well, this is how it's always been, so it must be the same moving forward. You have a problem. And the problem is either you're sending to bad email addresses who are never going to open your email in the first place, so they're not helping you. When you trim that down, generally what we'll start to see is 30, 40%, potentially 50%. It really depends what your audience is. And, cold prospecting is a challenge. It is. We all know this, and I've had so many conversations about it. But you should expect to see significant increase because you're trimming down the audience size into something that's more targeted. So that should be much more helpful for you. The reply rates, I'm sorry, but I think this is totally on you. This is on you as the salesperson. Validation is not going to fix your reply rates, but I think it's all proportionate to the rest of your metrics. So if you're increasing your open rates, you're going to increase your reply rates just by nature. That should work that way. The real reason is because you're an inbox versus spam. That's the real kind of outcome that you're looking to do. And I'm sorry, but from there, it's really up to you guys. You guys are the closers. You're the one doing the messaging. You're the one creating that next step. But we just see significant lift is what the feedback that we get, and we're constantly hearing is lift on the outcome that I'm trying to achieve. And I'm now hitting target numbers. And I'm not getting comfortable with how it always used to be. That's really the disruption that I think that you should be looking to figure out here is single digit open rates, you have problems. It's not your content's bad. That's a different problem. Single digit open rates, very bad. I've seen a lot of people have conversion rates like 0.2%, 0.8%, 1%, 2%. Those can come up, and those can come up by getting kind of better data in there. And again, crafting the message properly, but you're going to see lift. It's almost impossible not to. Think about all the other things that we've talked about. Spam folders, again, the killer to your campaign and the outcome.
Right. Well, there you have it, folks. ZeroBounce. One of the cool things I'm taking away from this is they're putting their money where their mouth is. Not only are they helping you stay out of the spam folder with some cool features, but they're also giving you the flexibility to force them to earn your business. So if you don't like it, you can cut it. Thank you, Brian, for sharing this information with us. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you on another episode of the Transform Sales Podcast Sales Software Review Series.
Thank you. Thanks, Tony.